Last week, we explored the haunting beauty and cinematic depth of November Rain, a song layered with emotion and complexity. This week, we're shifting gears but staying in the realm of unforgettable ballads. We're diving into a track that helped define an era, became the love theme for one of the most iconic films of the 80s, and took a little-known band from modest recognition to worldwide fame, only to split them apart. This is the story of Take My Breath Away by Berlin. It's hard to overstate the cultural impact of Top Gun. Released in 1986, it wasn't just a blockbuster. It was a cultural touchstone with its adrenaline-pumping fighter jet sequences, romantic tension, and memorable one-liners. The film had everything: action, romance, military pride, and, crucially, music. The producers, Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, knew music would be central to the film's emotional pull. But even after listening to over 300 submitted tracks from various composers and artists, they still hadn't found what they were looking for. At that point, the only confirmed musical piece was the now iconic Top Gun anthem, composed by Harold Faltermeyer. It was bold, powerful, and cinematic. But they were still missing something vital: the emotional anchor for the film's romantic subplot. And that's when they brought in Giorgio Moroder, a name synonymous with success. Just a few years earlier, he had won an Oscar for Flashdance. What a feeling! And the producers hoped lightning would strike twice. Moroder didn't waste any time. He quickly composed 2 tracks for the project. One of them would go on to become Danger Zone, which ultimately became a hit for Kenny Loggins. But interestingly, Loggins wasn't the first choice. The song was initially offered to Bryan Adams. However, Adams declined, citing concerns over the movie's militaristic overtones, which he didn't support. He wasn't alone. Toto was also in the running, but they dropped out due to contract disputes. The other song Moroder wrote was different. Softer, more romantic, and atmospheric. It would become Take My Breath Away. But there was a problem. While the instrumental track was ready, the lyrics were missing, and Moroder's usual lyricists unavailable. That's when fate stepped in the most unexpected way, through a garage. Tom Whitlock was a young mechanic at the time, not a Grammy winner or even a recognized songwriter. He had recently fixed the brakes on Moroder's red Ferrari. After completing the job, the two struck up a casual conversation, and Whitlock mentioned that he dabbled in songwriting. Moroder, impressed by Whitlock's enthusiasm and possibly running out of options, gave him a shot. He handed over a cassette containing 2 demos. One was the instrumental for Danger Zone, and the other was the musical framework of Take My Breath Away. Whitlock listened to the tape in his car, and within 2 days, he came back with completed lyrics. The title, Take My Breath Away, was already in place, so Whitlock crafted the story around that central idea. His lyrics captured a sense of longing, vulnerability, and passion that matched the romantic arc of the film perfectly. Now that they had the music and lyrics, all they needed was the voice. Moroder first approached Martha Davis, the lead singer of the Motels. She recorded a version, but ultimately it didn't make the cut. Something was missing. That's when he reached out to Terry Nunn, the lead singer of Berlin. Moroder had worked with her before and knew her capabilities. According to John Crawford, Berlin's bassist and co-founder, Terry was initially brought in just to record a demo vocal. The plan was to replace her voice with a bigger name down the line, but something unexpected happened. As soon as Moroder heard Terry's version, he fell in love with it. Her vocal interpretation had an emotional depth that elevated the song beyond what was originally intended. The rawness, the subtle vulnerability, and the phrasing she brought to the table gave the track a soul. She wasn't just singing the lyrics, she was living them. Interestingly, the rest of Berlin had no idea any of this was happening. They didn't play on the track. They didn't write any part of it. In fact, most of them didn't even hear the song until the movie premiered. It was, in many ways, a Berlin single that wasn't really a Berlin song. Terry herself sensed the song's potential but also recognized that it needed more emotional resonance. So she made subtle but impactful changes to her delivery. Originally, the melody felt too rigid. Terry added a fluidity and sensuality to her phrasing, elongating lines and experimenting with how certain syllables landed. That change made a huge difference. It gave the song its trademark haunting beauty. She also challenged Moroder on his initial production choices. At one point, she recalls adding vocal embellishments that he didn't initially appreciate. For instance, she wanted to sing Take My Breath Away in a more tender and textured style, but Moroder insisted it remain clean and straightforward. Eventually, a balance was struck, and what emerged was a stunning synthesis of minimalist production and emotive vocal performance. The record label saw an opportunity. They realized that Top Gun would be a commercial juggernaut, and they wanted Take My Breath Away included on Berlin's upcoming album Count 3 and Pray. This decision, however, would sow the seeds of division within the band. The song's lush, romantic sound was a far cry from Berlin's edgier, synth-heavy identity. It didn't align with who they were as musicians, and many band members saw it as a betrayal of their artistic vision. The movie's producers, on the other hand, loved the song so much that they actually added a brand new love scene to showcase it in full. That scene, now one of the film's most memorable, wasn't part of the original cut. It was inserted just to let the entire song play out uninterrupted. The dialogue was minimized, the visuals slowed, and the music took center stage. When Top Gun premiered, Take My Breath Away became a breakout hit almost overnight. It soared to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, top charts in the UK, Ireland, and the Netherlands, and received widespread critical acclaim. It went on to win the Academy Award for Best Original Song and also took home a Golden Globe in the same category. But behind the scenes, things weren't so rosy. Terry Nunn didn't attend the Oscars. And although Berlin's name was attached to the song, the rest of the band felt like passengers in someone else's success story. According to Terry, she had been invited to perform the song at the Oscars but declined. At just 23 years old, full of pride and conviction, she insisted on performing the entire song. The Academy said no. They were doing a medley, and each nominee would only get a verse and a chorus. Terry refused. Years later, she would come to regret that decision deeply, especially for her mother, who had hoped to see her daughter sing on the world's biggest stage. Despite the accolades, Berlin was coming apart at the seams. The band had already been struggling with internal disagreements and identity crisis. Now, this unexpected success only deepened those rifts. For some band members, the idea of performing Take My Breath Away for the rest of their lives felt like artistic death. For others, like Terry, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to travel, perform globally, and reach a new level of fame. That difference in attitude ultimately tore the band apart. They did tour for a while, at one point joining Frankie Goes to Hollywood on a European run. But the damage was done. What should have been their crowning achievement became a symbol of division. Take My Breath Away was both the band's greatest success and one of the final nails in its coffin. Terry Nunn, however, continued performing the song. Audiences around the world embraced it, and over time, it became an undeniable part of Berlin's legacy, even if it didn't represent the band's original spirit. It's difficult now to imagine Top Gun without Take My Breath Away. The song is so intertwined with the film that they've become inseparable. The track has stood the test of time, becoming a staple of 80s nostalgia, romance playlists, and movie soundtrack retrospectives. Yet, for those behind the scenes, the legacy of the song is more complicated. It's a powerful reminder that success doesn't always bring unity, and that not every hit is an uncomplicated victory. Take My Breath Away gave Berlin global fame, won them an Oscar, and immortalized their name. But it also marked the end of the band as they knew it. Sometimes, the price of reaching the top is discovering that the view isn't shared by everyone.